of excitement. So if we jump into a standard example, and I apologise for those people that were expecting to see a map of Australia. Don't worry, there's one there. As we move in, so what I can do is standard kind of thematic-based information, which may be streaming from a number of formats, or it could be coming from a SQL Server database, or even your Esri Arc SDE. But the ability to be able to present that out in a mode that allows you to rapidly filter, so with some very usable tools. So if I really wanted to filter out the performance, so only pick up the high-performing states over that particular period, I've got these controls here. I can now take that control, and I can look at the low-performing ones as well. But of course, one of the key differentiators with this particular data set and this particular set of tools is the ability to go and present that temporally as well. So I can now play back those particular objects and attribute them and theme them over that time slice as well. And you'll see up here in the year slider that it's actually moving between years, and you're seeing the variance. Being a business intelligence tool, you can actually start to see that data over as a list or as dynamic charts. So you'll notice that this information here is updating as the time is changing as well. I can actually go and filter that information out, and those filters will be applied across all of the visualization windows themselves. So once again, very, very live, very dynamic feel into your business data, and I'll turn off that for the time being. So if we just expose all of those states again, of course, seeing other business data such as things like retail locations, I can now change that to a shaded icon. And so we're seeing sort of standard GIS type functionality here, where I can zoom in, and if I've got lots of objects clustered on top of one another and I hover over that point, I've now got those 4 objects which are now being presented to me over the top. The visualization around that is as such, but I can actually modify that by changing to things like I may wish to see it as a symbol with a circle, or I may want to go a little bit step further and see that as an extruded. So by extruding it, that means I really need to try and change the aspect, or the viewing aspect. And so now I'm really able to move my data around, or move my visualization, so that I'm actually getting the best view that I think is necessary for the communication with the target audience. So what we're seeing is quite a high level of self-service through this without the need to be well-versed in GIS practices and techniques. If I did want to do some kind of spatial analysis, for example, let's take an interrogation of the state of Illinois. I click on Illinois, and I may wish to use that as the boundary for a spatial query. So now, using that state boundary, I'm actually seeing a filter of those particular items, and I can see them over the various visualization modes as well. So we're now looking at the 7 retail stores out of the ones that were available in that particular view. So let's move a little bit closer to home. So if I jump closer to home, I can take feeds from a number of sources. So what I'm going to do is take the Rural Fire Service from New South Wales, and this is directly from their site. So if there's no fires, that's also very good. It's good for New South Wales, not so good for my demonstration. So if I take that feed that's available and I select the style that I wish to present that, and fortunately, or unfortunately, depending who you are, there are a total of 1 items there. Not very exciting. I've done the same kind of thing with the CFA, or the Country Fire Authority in Victoria, and they've got a full set of incidents going on there as well. Of course, taking a feed and putting dots on the map only gives you part of the context. Now looking at those over time, and I can see that that's quite a live feed. And if I'm hovering over the object, you can see it appearing in the timeline as well. I could now filter on that spatially if I wanted to do that, or I can dynamically create a heat map based upon the clustering of that. So, building management reports that show that the clustering is quite a powerful tool, and it can be done from a number of data sources, including not just RSS feeds, as I've dragged out from there, but also things like Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and the like. So I realise that there's a lot more I can demonstrate, there, but we'll just jump back into the slideshow. I mean, so you've seen Visual Fusion, you've had a little bit of a taste of it. So why would you use Visual Fusion, especially if you're an advanced GIS organisation? As I mentioned, the Visual Fusion toolset is a complement to the GIS platform and does integrate directly into the other business components, whether they're SharePoint or even your GIS tools as well. So it provides a level of empowerment to the users on these spatial activities as well, so providing a real self-service opportunity with that level of integration. And in fact, the customers that we have already have GIS and they're looking to use Visual Fusion to extend the offering of their GIS and to take the load off their GIS personnel so that they can provide this self-service style of mapping. And obviously it's easy to understand, you can do better decision making, and it is a very powerful communication tool, especially for those people that like the 2.5 dimension type mapping. So with that as a very quick overview and a demonstration of the product, I guess we've now got a small amount of time left for some questions. I'll put up my contact details there. If you do wish to make contact with us, we'll leave those up for the durations of the questions, and I'll pass it back to you, Clint.
Great, thanks Ross. Thanks for a great presentation, and nice to see you're on time also. I did ask in my introduction for the audience to place questions within the GoToWebinar panel, and there is still time for you to do that if you've got any questions now. But what I'll do is just replay some of the questions that have already come in and ask you, Ross, to answer those. So the first question we received is, do you need to have SharePoint in order to use Visual Fusion?
Yes, I did mention SharePoint, but the answer is, and I've just said yes, the answer is no, you don't need SharePoint. You can use Windows SharePoint services, which are embedded within the Windows Server product, and there are a number of customers out there doing just that, and they're using feeds that are coming from other parts of the business. If you do have SharePoint, then you've obviously got a lot more capabilities, and specifically using Excel services as well within that, and other search capabilities. So SharePoint does give you an enhanced experience, but it's certainly not necessary.
Great, thanks Ross. A second question that's come in is, can you create customized views so that different users can only see the data they're authorized to see? So I guess different levels of permission there.
Yeah, certainly. The SharePoint platform allows you to go and specify the roles and permissions around layers, and even down to the object level if you like. And the Visual Fusion will pick up on all of those roles and responsibilities, and even from your Active Directory, to determine what you can and can't see. And if you want another level of control, you can actually go and publish out different applications to specific user groups and give access to that particular application to those user groups only. So yes, it certainly does provide that level of control over the viewing.
Great.